John, my friend, you're looking a little hot and sweaty there.
Yeah, Novembers in Florida are still pretty fucking hot. Just got back from a nice little 4.5 mile run. Me and my girlfriend went out, so it's a beautiful day for it.
Oh, I can't say the same up here in Michigan. It's pretty gloomy and rainy today,
Mm.
unfortunately.
Dude, I used to live in the Northeast and never the Midwest or especially that Michigan area, but I can imagine it's brutal in the winter.
I think it kind of takes a lot of perception because after a
Hmm.
while you just kind of like this is what it is. But it's been a little bit different the last couple of years. Like right now, I remember as a kid, it'd be cold and there'd be snow on the ground.
Hmm.
Nowadays, it's almost like not super warm, but it's kind of like a cool rainy season in November. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I grew up in Jersey and it kind of transitioned the same way that, in the winters in Jersey when I was growing up, you'd expect, a good amount of snow throughout the year. And now it's just kind of like a balmy, like 40 degrees and cold and like drizzly rain the whole time. It's like, man, if it's gonna be cold, at least give me snow.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, it's killed my ice fishing career, to be honest with you. You
Ice
know,
fishing's pretty cool.
ice fishing is a lot of fun, but at the same time, you got to be smart. You got to be safe about it. Like I
Mm.
was born in the winter, so every year I'd take my annual ice fishing trip for my birthday, and unfortunately, it's been a few years since it's been safe to do.
When's your birthday?
January 6th.
Okay, gotcha. I figured it was coming up soon if you said you went ice fishing during it. Mine's in December, so it would have been fun to have been near the same time or maybe even the same sign, but it's all good.
Born in the smack dab in the middle of the transition. If you look at the flow of the natural world around us. I mean, it's like right there where everything's kind of died off and dead.
Hmm.
It's almost holding its space, getting ready and starting to build and getting ready for that rebirth. And I feel like that's where a place that a lot of us find ourselves in, whether we want to or not at some point in our life.
Most definitely, man. And that's the biggest thing about life is that the only constant is change. So whatever you're doing right now, you have to be ready for it to end. You have to be ready to pivot. You have to be ready to get to that next step.
You do. And, I think with the way our society runs so fast paced and filled with distractions, it makes it really easy to smack into that brick wall of change and not expect it to come your way.
Oh yeah. You know, it- Back, let's say 100 years ago, you could get used to one way of living and you could be pretty certain that your life would be pretty much the same from one decade to the next. But if you look back 10 years ago, AI wasn't a thing. If you look back 10 years before that, social media wasn't a thing. 10 years before that, the internet wasn't really a thing. 10 years from now, what are we going to be looking at saying, oh my God, I can't believe that didn't exist 10 years ago. But life just moves so fast, you got to just keep up.
You do, and I think where a lot of us kind of find comfort within putting our heads in the sand is we like to throw around that phrase, we're living in unprecedented times.
Hmm. Yeah, well, COVID really brought that to the forefront.
It did. And when you think about it though, when you're living life and you're going day by day, there's nothing that you experience that hasn't already happened in history with a
Hmm.
different context. So if you become more aware of your surroundings, you're able to anticipate those changes a little bit better.
My history teacher, junior year of high school, always used to say, kids, why do we study history? And as a class, you'd repeat, so we don't repeat it.
Unfortunately, we are repeating it every single day, aren't we?
Mhm.
In some form, shape of another, we've already lived out these experiences. And I think a lot of the uncomfortableness of that comes from when those things come up and we have to look at them from the past and the way that we behaved or the way that it affected our lives. There's a label and there's a stigma that gets stuck on it. And we don't ever bring to the forefront of our mind the idea that today we can do something different. Today we can change our approach.
Um, yeah, man, and that's kind of one of the biggest things. I know we haven't really broached the subject yet, but when I had an experience that I had about 2 years ago that, kind of my book centers around and this whole major life change that I have centered around, what really got brought to the forefront was that you do have the ability to change your life at any single moment. And one of the biggest things that I took away from my experience, and I'll dive a little deeper into it and answer any questions that you have, but is that at any time in your life, you're making a decision to be exactly where you are. Because at any moment, you can pick up and you can move to Japan. At any moment, you can go jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. At any moment, you can decide to do whatever it is you want to do. Be friends with anyone you want to be friends with, date anyone you want to date, do anything you want to do, right? So you are deciding to be exactly where you are at any given moment. And that's a choice that you actively make every single second of the day. And it comes back to the question, where are you deciding to be?
And that puts a lot of responsibility back in the shoes of the person that's asking that question. Because the truth of the matter is, and I remember, years ago having it beat into my head that you can't change. This is who you are, this is what you're going to be, and this is where you're going to stay. Well, in reality, facing that inevitable moment when I smacked face first into that brick wall of change, it really opened my eyes to the fact that we're not destined to be who we were 5 minutes ago. We had the ability to go within and draw out these features that are trapped within our heart, within our soul, that really truly define the person that we want to be. And we can take steps day by day to build that picture and spread that out into the world.
It sounds like you had a similar experience of change, Mike. What was that like for you?
Well, for me, that involved being homeless, having the words, you have nothing to offer an individual or your family, your kids, anything, which led to a suicide attempt,
Hmm.
and then stumbling on the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Hmm. Did you find that on your own accord, or was that brought about by like Ryan Holiday's work?
It was actually ironically funny because I turned down a hunting podcast that I listened to all the time, and Ryan Holiday was the guest that day.
Oh, hey man. Well,
Completely ironic.
God put you in the right place at the right time, I guess, right?
Exactly. And I think it's a representation. It's a beautiful representation actually of just holding that open space within your heart. Because I mean, for me, life was crumbling down. There was that disconnect emotionally, mentally, physically, that nothing was going to make that pain stop except to not be here. And then
Hmm.
to stumble back to my truck and just happen to turn on a podcast that I listened to religiously that had nothing to do with philosophy or anything of the sort. And that was the message that week. It was just like a pure abrupt smack in the face and completely changed my frame of mind.
Man, that's incredible that you were given that, divine intervention. That's really the only way to put it. When you're in the right spot at the right time, and you're you're given that gift of that insight that you received. I'm sure the gratitude for that moment extends far beyond what you could have ever anticipated it being.
Well, absolutely. It was the change of mind and mindset that everything was terminal, you know. And had I gone through with that, everything that was said would have been the definition that I left behind. But by being able to turn it around and start picking myself back up one step at a time, I was teaching the people that are most important to me, my kids,
Mm.
that not only am I not what that message was, but you had the ability within to choose to pick yourself up and face the adversity.
Yes, sir. And a lot of research has come out about the effect of doing hard things and facing tough times and coming out stronger. I don't know if you've heard of the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. but it's a region in the brain that actually grows larger the more hard things that you do. So, that's why, like, you know, if you're depressed, a lot of times it's because you haven't found meaning in what you do. You haven't found something that's hard, that's worth working for. And that's why doing things like what I do from a physical fitness standpoint, I I know that it's difficult. I know that it's gonna suck when I put on those running shoes and that weight vest and I go out and I run in 85-degree heat. But I know when I finish that I'm gonna feel fucking incredible. And it's gonna help me make more and more hard decisions as the days goes on and the weeks go on. And I'm faced with those decisions that are a bit more impactful to what direction my life's gonna go in. I know that making that tough choice to do something that, I know is gonna suck is going to make me a better person at the end of the day. And so, props to you for taking that first step and recognizing that there's strength out there for you. A lot of what you mentioned, whether it's the depression and the suicidal ideation or the homelessness really resonates with me. I hadn't been homeless myself, but my girlfriend was when she was a child. And, hearing her stories of what that was like, living with her parents in the back of a milk truck, and rising from that to be the incredible symbol of strength that she is. And for myself, had I had had a job that I got ripped away from me after I was a top performer at it for about 4 years, and I had severe depression that stemmed from that, and was at the point where I didn't think that I provided any value to the world. And there are those moments that go through your mind of, is this the end of the game? And I'm just so glad that I never got to that point, and I'm glad that you didn't get to that point because we were able to share this moment here today, Mike.
Isn't it kind of ironic though how you can go out and physically do something and start to rechange that and rewrite that vocabulary to where you start bringing out this worth and this value. For you, it's the difficult challenge of the physical exercise. For me, I rebuilt that self-worth and that self-value one swing at a hatchet at a time. Not to mention, taking all these different hikes and journeys, but having a physical reminder or something that you can physically see and feel. It
Hmm.
brings something very special out that nobody can ever take away from you.
What's that physical thing for you?
For me, it's that confidence, it's that
Hmm.
worth, that value, that self-trust, all those things that the rest of the outside world is really good at beating out of us really quick.
You have to have the strength within yourself.
You do. And when you go through and you physically earn it, it comes back in a way that nothing can really take that vocabulary away from you
Hmm.
because you're always able to look back and say, well, maybe this person's telling me this, but at the same time, I can look over there and say, hey, I just built that fire from scratch. I built a shelter from nothing. Or I went on a 5 mile run and I can feel it. I can feel all these different things going through my body and I can still tap into that energy.
Hmm. You had mentioned hiking before. And I know that's a major theme of the podcast. I'm guessing you do some hikes out in Michigan, or do you have a specific place that you like to go?
I enjoy going down toward like the Ohio Valley and throughout Kentucky. I also hike a lot through Michigan. I do a lot of work through what they opened recently called the Iron Belt Trail, where it
Hmm.
basically spends the entire length of Michigan from like around the Monroe area, the bottom of the Lower Peninsula, all the way up to Ironwood, Michigan, at the very top.
So have you hiked that full trail?
I've done that full trail. That
What's
was
the mileage like?
I can't even remember the mileage. I've done it once.
Uh,
It was it
I-
was it was an adventure to say the least. I was out there for about a month.
Woo, mama.
I wasn't in no hurry though. I was just taking my time and just
Yeah.
enjoying it. I love getting out on those solo hikes and just going, where you just get the opportunity to turn life off and you focus on yourself.
Hmm.
That's where the real butter gets made. That's where you're really starting to hone in on who you are and really discover those special features you have to offer, which gets back to that confidence and that worth and that value.
Most definitely, man. Um, where when you're out there, is there, anything specific that you do to help yourself think through things, or you just kind of let nature take you?
I just kind of let nature take the course. I mean, there's lots of, stops for like meditation in the evening, maybe
Mhm.
meditation in the morning. But for me, it's just a lot of getting the gear on, going through the paces and putting in a lot of time to sit with myself in order to really truly keep myself centered.
Mhm. One of the biggest things for me when I went through my life transformation was just recognizing that it is okay to sit with yourself. All the time, there's so much stuff going on, right? And it can kind of feel like weird if there's not noise, if the radio isn't playing, if the TV isn't on, if someone's not having a conversation. And when you can shut that off and be okay with yourself for a second, it's huge.
It really is. It's transformative. Well, as our time starts to wind down, though, I want you to talk a little bit to somebody that's standing there with their face stuck in that wall of change. They're trying to discover how they can pull their nose off that wall and start walking that path to defining who they truly are.
Yeah. Well, there's a few ways that I can go with that. But the first thing I'm going to say is that it starts with the desire too. You have to truly want to change. If you tell yourself, oh, it would be nice to do that, you're not going to do it. But if you say to yourself, you know what? The time for messing around, the time for fucking around, it's done. I'm done being that person. I'm done being the person. For me, it was that person that goes out and drinks every weekend, the person that does coke every weekend, the person that chases tail and gambles and chews tobacco and drives drunk and does all these horribly dangerous, reckless things. Put your fucking foot down. Decide to be what you want to be and go after it. Now, with that being said, I wrote a book about how magic mushrooms, psilocybin changed my life. And that was really the catalyst that opened my eyes to those things. Before I found psilocybin, I had kind of had those conversations with myself. I was that first example that, it would be nice to run a marathon. It would be nice to see how good a shape I could get in. It would be nice to work with people in a more tangible sense. But did I have the confidence in myself to go after it? No. Have you tried psychedelics, Mike?
I have not.
No, no experience with them.
No.
Are you familiar with the research that's come out on them?
I've read some research. I've had a couple of conversations around them.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I do have a working idea.
Gotcha. Yeah, so when I first tried them, it wasn't intentional to change my life. It was a recreational thing. I was getting ready to go to a concert, but it was like one thing after the other just started to click in my head. Things that, you've been told your whole life, like, you know, hey, look people in the eye when you talk to them. Smile more. Say hi to the fucking cash register. They're normal people. And then all of a sudden, you start to look at the world differently and go, oh, wait, yeah, that's right. Other people matter too. Maybe I should, take 2 seconds to have a conversation. Maybe I should, get my head out of my own ass. Maybe I should work a little bit harder at what I'm doing. Maybe I should stop drinking for a weekend and actually take care of my health. And, then things start to kind of roll from there. Um, but it really all comes back to, like I said, having that true internal desire to be better than you were 5 minutes ago. Make that decision to be.
I think one of the best ways to sum that up is to steal a quote actually from Marcus Aurelius. When you're looking at that wall, ask yourself, if I died right now, I fear that because I couldn't do whatever it is that you were trying to do before you hit that wall. And if you start asking yourself that more and more, you start to find the values, the things that are important to you, and you get to act on those. And all that works together to make you walk that direction that you're looking to walk. So before I let you go, though, you got to let people know how they can get a hold of the book, get a hold of you, and what you got going on, all that good self-promotion stuff.
Yeah, man. So the name of the book is called Your Mindset is Your Reality, a firsthand account of the positive effects of psilocybin on mental health and addiction. It's available on Amazon. My name is John Borden, the author, so you can find it by searching either by the title, Your Mindset is Your Reality, or by my name. I'm also on Instagram at Johnny B, JohnNniebe, or on Twitter at psilocybin fit.
Well, John, thanks. It's been a pleasure to sit down and have this conversation. I don't believe in the words goodbye, so until we meet again, whether it's this life or the next, I wish you a safe and prosperous journey, my friend. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
I'll see you soon, Mike.